Welcome to another episode of the 𝗵𝗲𝗶𝗰𝗸's Mastermind every Wednesday, where we share information, education, inspire, enlighten, and entertain you. Tonight, we got a special guest. We got Dr. Airaina Knight. Some of y'all have seen her on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. You've seen her in Black Enterprise. She's highly educated. As you can see, all of the degrees behind her. She is matriculated at the highest level, and she's going to be sharing a lot with us tonight. She's going to start from how she got there. If you see a turtle on the top of the fence, you know it didn't get there by itself. So without further ado, I bring to you none other than Dr. Airaina Knight. She's gone pro. She is a school owner. First of all, Dr. Knight, we need to know how it all got started. Take us from childhood. We don't want to start where you at now. You've already arrived. But there are a lot of people on here that aspire to become school owners, future school owners. Some of them are scared. So they need to know how you got to where you are. So can you tell us from childhood?
Okay, so I'm a native New Yorker. I grew up right in Brooklyn and the community of Flatbush in Brooklyn, New York. And I am the oldest daughter to a single mother with two girls. And so braiding was a livelihood. My mother didn't have time to do our hair daily. So we would get our hair braided. I mean, for me, it was just me for 7 years. So I would get my hair braided often. And there were times that I had a babysitter and the babysitter would actually braid my hair. So she really introduced me to the style of braids because she would do these cute braid styles, you know. And so I recognized that God gave me braids at the age of 7. And I didn't realize that I was doing a thing. I was just busy. As a youngster, like I was a very busy child. That's how it started for me. And then I left New York and I was about 15, almost 16, and came to North Carolina to live with my dad. I went to a predominantly white high school and I would, just kind of braid my hair on occasion. That's how I knew to manage my hair. And Sharice was from Charlotte. I braided her hair, and from that point on, I never stopped braiding. And so time and time again, I would braid, and I braided so much that I actually flunked out of school, just kind of making money and not being able to go to classes and get my work done and things of that nature. So a little bit about it, when I went away to college, I went emancipated. My dad was incarcerated and my mother was in New York. She had rheumatoid arthritis. And so I basically paid my way through college by braiding hair and doing other people's hair. And so when I found out that that was a job and people would actually pay me to braid their hair, of course, it overtook my studies. And so that's what began to happen. And it just kind of kept going. And so finally, I was in a bad car accident in Fayetteville and decided to come back to Fayetteville. So I figured I'd gotten to a car accident, I would come back to Fayetteville and I would start over in Fayetteville. I said that I wasn't going to do braids again because I really just wanted to graduate. My dad had challenged me to graduating, and that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to graduate from college and decided to move forward and, move towards graduating. And one of my high school friends came to me, 𝗹𝗶𝗰𝗸. She says, "Hey, Airaina, are you still braiding hair?" And I said, "No, 𝗹𝗶𝗰𝗸, I'm just trying to graduate." And she says, "Well, I'm in band." And, so she just kind of gave me her concern. So I said, "Okay, well, I'll braid it." And I did her hair in a braid style. And it was her request. I went ahead and I did individual braids. I pulled them up into a ponytail and I made a bob. And so the color was like black and then burgundy across the front. Do you know that everybody in the band called me? And then I was living on campus at Fayetteville State. And so I had a really easy telephone number. It was all you had to do was dial the last 4 digits, which was 3333. So that's what it was. And so before long, I found myself braiding again. And guess what? I flunked out again. And then I went back to school and discovered the student center, and there was a beautician, Edith Bishop. And I said, "Hey, I braid hair. I braid hair on campus. I just want to braid hair." And she's like, "Well, you can't braid hair unless you get a license." And so I said, "Well, where do I go get a license?" And she told me, but I wasn't interested. It was my friend that said to me, it was like, "Yeah, you do it anyway. You might as well go back and, just go get your cosmetology license. It's not going to hurt you. And then at least you'll have have a career. You know, you don't want to grow up and not have a career. And I'm like, you know what? You're absolutely right. So I went to Fayetteville Beauty College and I met with Miss Ricketts and Miss Henry, and she enrolled me in school. And at that time, you could get Pell Grant, full financial aid. So I started in September of 1996, and I went to school diligently. And I was exposed to like real life adults, because I told you before that I was just college campus, lived in the dormitory, was not exposed to, you know, anything that was outside. And, you know, you grow up living like, okay, we're adults, we're on the campus, everybody here is adults. But until I went to Fayetteville Beauty College, I realized like how sheltered we were as college students. And so as I was there, I just experienced going to school with other people that had real issues. They had children, you know, they were mothers, they were taking time out, they were service members. So a lot of real issues. And so once I completed that program, I was done in August of 1997. And so at that time, one of my frat brothers came to me. He was like, somebody told me you were here and you were about to graduate. I said, yeah. He said, I got a barbershop over there. And this, I didn't know that. And he said, I got a spot you might like. You might want to try it. And so while I was in cosmetology school, I would leave every day to go and do someone else's hair. So I would leave and I would go do someone else's hair. And that's how I made my living through school. And I mean, I was very professional. We wore white while we were in cosmetology school, which is why I make my students wear white. I just think that it's a distinguished look for students and it sets them apart. Because as I would go out in the community, people would always inquire about my white uniform. And I would tell them that I went to cosmetology school. And that's how I began to build my clientele. So I would go to someone's house every day after school. So I was in school all day. Then I would leave and I would go to someone else's house and I would stay and I would braid their hair. And the good thing about cosmetology school was that it showed me how to be a professional. So I would go with my kit and I would lay out all of my tools and my implements and I was ready to serve. So by the time my frat brother came to me, I was exhausted. And so he showed me the spot. So the first day after I graduated, I stood up and I told my cosmetology class, because we had, individual graduation. And so I told them, I said, this was good, learning how to apply relaxers and cut hair and things of that nature, but it wasn't my style. I wasn't interested. So I said, I'm just going to stick with what I know, and that's braids. So I went to Premier Cuts Barbershop, and that's where I began my professional journey. So I completed all of my research and everything organically. So spending time in the library, and there was a period of time when I was working on my master's degree. So see, like I graduated in December 1999 from Fayetteville State, finally, right? So I got my bachelor's of science in psychology. Once I was done with that and I got those degrees, what did I do? At one point in time, I was working at a salon. I was in school for my instructor's license, and I was working on a degree. So I didn't have any children at that time, so it kind of worked. But I felt like I had messed up, like I had missed so much time playing that now I was about to be 25 and I really had to get about business. And so everybody around me that was close were business owners and they were about their business. So I just felt like I needed to level up because the world wouldn't see me as a child anymore. Once I turned 25, I'm a woman, so I really just felt like I really needed to do a lot. That's about the time that I met my mentor, Diane Bailey, out of New York at Medgar Evers College. She was teaching a natural hair and braiding course. And so I just wanted to know how to duplicate that here in North Carolina. So she told me, she was like, well, sis, you got to do it, because if you don't do it, nobody else is going to do it. And so that's when I came back and built the curriculum. I shopped the curriculum through Fayetteville Tech. And so we taught natural hair care. And it was called Natural Hair Braiding 1. And then it did so well and it booked so fast. The next semester we did Natural Hair Braiding 1, Natural Hair Braiding 2. And then we just began to add a 3. And then I was at a Delta Days at the Capitol and I met a representative. And so I asked her, I said, well, what would it take to get a license for hair braiders? And she showed me. And so she told me, she said, well, read it. And if you see, she gave me a pen. She said, if you see anything that needs to be changed, go ahead and just make those changes. She gave it to me. She said, well, just email it back to me. And so I said, okay. So I took it, went through it and made the corrections, emailed it back to her the next day. And that began the ball to roll in North Carolina for our license. So it took probably about a good year and a half. We were able to get something on the books. And finally in 2011, after I gave birth to my second child, I had actually had to turn the hospital room into an office to get the corrections to her so that we would have 3 years left in order to get our licensure done. So that's how we ended up getting a license in North Carolina. So we are professionals here, and we have been professionals since 2015, where it became official that everyone had to deal with that. And so then I also found the Natural Beauty Culturist League, and I knew that they had a master's and a doctorate program. So I actually started Walden University working on a PhD in industrial organizational psychology. And then I began going back to the Institute of Cosmetology for the National Beauty Culturist League and began working on the doctorate degree in professional cosmetology. And so as I moved forward, I grew weary. And so I couldn't keep both of the doctoral programs together. And so I let the one at Walden go because it was more expensive. And I just kept the doctorate program at the National Beauty Culturist League. I actually graduated from that program in 2009.
When did you start thinking about the school? Because you had worked in the salons and you had opened up a lot of salons. So when did you start thinking about going pro to this next level, the school level?
So I'd gotten my instructor's license in 2000. And then I went back to become an adult educator. So it was a part of the plan, but it wasn't until I realized I was sending people, because people would call me and say, hey, can I come to you to get my license? So after the regulation, they could not come to me anymore to get a license. They had to go to school. And so, I was content with just having certifications, doing the braiding, and I was doing loctician certification. So I was happy with doing those advanced training things. God kind of showed me everything that was in my path and how I was prepared to open a school. And so with having that type of information, because it's okay, when heirlooms came up, it's a thing where an adult education we have so many different programs that it's not just natural hair and it's not just manicure. We have business classes. We invite people from the community. We've had accountants to come and speak with adults. Again, it's about having adults to take time and come in and get information. We have make and take classes. We have classes where it's hands-on, where you can learn to make a tea bag. Tea is good for healing. So with that being said, that I think became my obligation, that I had an obligation to teach adults. And I need to teach adults to become better adults, teach adults survival skills, teach adults things that I learned that helped me to cope. And so that's kind of where it came about. And then someone sent me your link and I was like, oh, this is the shortcut that I need. Because although I had the administration degree, I didn't have a lot of time. So, you either have time or money, or sometimes you have them both. But, I didn't have the time, so I had the money. So I said, okay, well, let me put in a message to him and see if I'm talking about you. This is me thinking to myself, okay, so let me hit him up and see how he can help me, if he can help me, if he sounds legit. And so I had that conversation with you on the outside of my account. I was outside talking to you and I was outside of my accountant's office. And so I said, okay, I think I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna go ahead and get the blueprint because that'll help me get a jump start on everything that I'm trying to do. And so I think that I hit you because it was on Instagram. It was this platform. It was Instagram. It was in the afternoon. It probably I'm looking at the day. It was probably about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I sent you a message on Instagram and you sent back your phone number and then I called you. Like it was probably like between 2 and 4 in the afternoon.
And what were you thinking when I called back?
Well, you actually had answered the phone. And so that's when I was like, okay, good. He's got time to talk to me. It wasn't your assistant. It was you. And that's what I appreciated the most. And then you were very personal. I kind of felt like I could have an easy conversation with you. And, I didn't have to like watch my speech or my verbiage. It was just kind of very down to earth. I could just be me. I didn't have to be Dr. Knight.
So what did you think after the conversation, or what were you thinking?
Nothing. I had to go get you the money and just kind of waited to be able to just download the software.
So when you got in the program, what were you thinking? Did you have any doubts, investigate, tell the people what was like?
I was just ready to cross the bridge. That's what I was doing. I couldn't even think of there was no room for like any type of negative self-talk or, anything like that. It was just like, okay, so this is what I have to do. I didn't realize the animal was as big as it was until I actually got the application. And you're thinking like, oh, okay, so it's just a 1.5-page application. That 1.5-page application was an 89-page document when it was all said and done. So it's not just about like filling out, this, that, and the third. It was about just researching, being able to design the school, and being able to use your book as a resource to answer a lot of those questions. Unfortunately, because it was natural hair care, I had to like take from the curriculums that you had, the cosmetology, the barbering, manicure, and aesthetics. I had to take from those to create the natural hair curriculum. But because I have manicure, aesthetics, and teachers training, all of those came along with it. So it was really good.
So when you were transitioning and opening this school, what was your mindset? Because it's like there are millions of barbers, stylists, nail techs, estheticians, but it's only a handful of school owners.
Mm-hmm. I was thinking, well, like I always thought that it was for somebody else to do. I didn't think that I could actually be the one to do it. That was the first thing. I didn't think that I could actually obtain it until I began working on it. And so I actually had to work on it part-time. I had someone helping me to work on it, but I would actually have to work and, go different places, do different things, and then still come back to this office. And I would spend, like I'm no stranger to hard work and long working hours. So it was nothing for me to work in the salon all day and then turn around and come here and work half the night. My husband would go crazy, like, I can't believe you're out there by yourself. I'm like, I'm okay. Got my music on. My doors are locked. I'll call you when I'm getting in the car, that type of thing. And so sometimes he would be over here with me, but it was more important that he be at home with the children.
So when you got your inspection, tell us about that day.
Oh, gracious. Okay. So finally, it was crucial. Like I started working in October. I finally got the packet ready to turn into them before Thanksgiving. I walked it up there and I turned it in around Thanksgiving. Then they sent me back some texts December the 5th, and they told me some things that needed to be worked out. So then the challenge was, because during all of this was during the pandemic, it was difficult to get a lot of things that was so easily done. Like you had to make appointments to get into the city. City Hall wasn't allowing anybody to come in. You had to send emails, wait for them to get back in contact with you. So that was the biggest hassle. So when they sent back December 5th, I was able to get back with them, and I would just send over small things that they would need. Finally, I completed the package in January. Then she sent me over. She said she had me down for a February the 15th date. Then, now keep in mind that all of this time, I got the lease during Juneteenth. So that was a commitment that I made to myself, Juneteenth 2020. Went ahead and paid and got the deposit. I had to pay to keep this facility running on top of the other facilities that were running. I had to pay to keep this full, and this is a 2,000 square foot building, and I had to pay for this building to keep running, and I had to keep all the utilities on. I had to get equipment. There was so much. Like, I was really at my wits' end when they finally gave me the inspection date. And so when they came in, I was a little nervous. So I saw them walk in, and I recognized, because I worked with the State Board of Cosmetic Arts for a long time. So the inspector was actually someone that was a receptionist when we were working to get the natural hair. And so we actually served on the curriculum committee. So it was great to see her, the elevation that she had made within the Cosmetic Arts Board. And, she was likewise and all like, oh my gosh, Airaina, I can't believe you're actually opening up a school. Like, she knew me fresh out of instructor school. So that made it a little easier. And because before COVID, I would go to every state board meeting, I knew the other inspector. I didn't have any conversation outside of, just kind of quick, hi, how you doing? Like quick 2-second conversations, but she recognized who I was. And so they were very helpful and just kind of bringing to life, showing me how to use my space and things of that nature. And they came through and they inspected. I needed some more stuff in aesthetics. So they said that, okay, well, we'll wait here, or, we'll go get some lunch while you go. And so then I went out. You ever seen the supermarket dash where you just kind of dash through town? And I had to go and try to find things that went in the aesthetics kit. And then I came back and they checked it off and they checked it off and, measured it out. They were very, very, very helpful. And so it was so funny because I listened to one of your talks when you were like, oh, they're not going to be mean. They're going to be very nice this first time. And I'm like, yep, that's exactly what they were. They were very nice that time. And so they came, they wrote up the A, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, they're giving me an A? Hey, yes. Oh my God. So I'm like, now. And so my manicure teacher, she told me, she said, well, listen, don't be in a rush. You've been in a whirlwind for so long. You've waited this long. Go ahead and take you some time. Take a break, because you're not going to have one after a while. So I did. I took 2 weeks off. I just kind of got back in, cleaned my house up, got everything normalized, got organized, and started looking at the salon. She told me, she said, 48 hours, don't even go to the school. Don't go to the school. And I didn't. When I finally did, then I started looking like, okay, now I need to start. And I had already had people that were ready to get into school. I just needed to be able to give them dates and such. And so that's exactly what happened.
How does it feel being a school owner?
It's a lot of responsibility, but it's also rewarding. So now I just have to do what I was called to do. And my students, they're very eager. They're very helpful. They understand that I'm a dinosaur and I don't know technology, but they appreciate and they pick my brain. And I allow them to pick my brain. So, I'm looking at it to where I'm on the exit. And so I'm like, okay, I'm giving away these gifts. God gave me the gifts. This is heirlooms. I'm passing on this gift. So come get this gift. I'm giving it away. I'm giving it away freely. Anything that you want to know, anything that you ever want to understand about hair, my philosophy, those types of things, I'm giving it away. Come get it. And so, they speak about cosmetology and not preparing you. I believe that cosmetology did prepare me. And it's not about learning to do ethnic hair or anything like that, because hair is hair, right? The difference is the types of texture. So you have to learn to deal with the different type of texture. And again, I'm looking at it from a multicultural and transcontinental perspective. There is no white hair. There is no black hair. There is just the textures of hair, how straight it is, the degree of curl. So being able to look at those things and give them those philosophies.
You've ran salons, worked in salons, and now you had a school. What's the difference in working in a salon all day versus the school, as far as physical or whatever? Just tell us the difference.
Well, the blessing is that I have an awesome support team. Like my staff is awesome. My staff is so supportive. My teacher staff is so supportive. My office staff is one of my best friend's mother from high school. She came on and she works to help me in the office, and everything comes together. It's definitely a community event. Like people from my community definitely hold me down.
So what advice would you tell future school owner or a barber, a stylist, a nail tech, somebody that's working in a shop or working in a salon suite, just doing it repetitiously? What would you tell them? And they're thinking about opening a school.
To line your people up, to get you a support team, to sow into your community, to sow into the people that are closest towards you. Because, you know, we've all learned like sowing is the way to yield harvest, right? It's hard to do, and it's hard for us to do. That's been the most challenging, just finding people to love people the way that I love people, and to be as unforgiving and giving away when you want to take. In order to build your team, you have to give your team. You can't starve your team and let them watch you eat. You have to feed your team. You have to make sure. And I'm the last person to eat. I'm the last person to leave. I'm the last person. And it's okay because I leave full. I can give away everything that I have and I still leave full.
How did you leave the salon? Did you leave full leaving your salon or what? How was that?
Yes, my three main people, it was so difficult to actually just kind of get them what I wanted them to have. And so I told my assistant at the time, I said, I'm just going to put them all in their own salons and let them do their own thing. They all think they have 3 different philosophies and they think that they know what's supposed to do. I'm just going to put them in their own salon and then I'll see where the problem is. So they took those, and I would go from one day I'm working in this place, the other day I'm working in this place, and the other day I'm working in that place. And I did that for a while until I found out, okay, so this person is strongest over here. I'm gonna leave this person over here. I'm gonna let that person stay over here. I'm gonna put this person over here with me. And so then I learned, and again, having my plans down, who was the lead person in which salon. I'm the only trichologist in my group. So I held down the clinic. Well, I held down the clinic until I started a trichology class. So then I put one of my lead cosmetologists into my trichology class. So now I have an assistant there. Right now I work in the clinic and I work in the school. So now I have the chance, like this is the opportunity that I can just teach people legally and don't get mad for them to take.
How important do you think all that paperwork is?
When you speak about paperwork,
like all the enrollment agreements, all that stuff. Because you had like what, 89 documents you said?
So that was just to go to the board. That was like the diagram of the salon, the type of stuff that needs to be in the kit, the lesson plans, the documents saying that the electrician was approved, and the documents saying that the plumbing was approved, and so all of those documents comprise the 89-page document.
So your enrollment agreements, how do you feel about your enrollment agreements and
my handbook and things of that nature for the student? I really don't have to use it. I haven't had to. Like, I really have a good group of women. And we're just on the second, get ready to go into the third group. At first, it was a little bit of strange just because it was a new feeling for me. It was a new feeling for the students. But as we grow together, one of the main things is, and my students know, I'm all about respecting one another. And so that's the one thing that's important. And I'm not the type to say, oh, you got to respect, you got to. I think that it comes across in the delivery. And, the biggest thing that I talk about is I just want them to treat each other the way that I treat them. I think they jump in, they help each other out, they champion. I've had my first graduate. She did the program in 33 days. And that was awesome. And just like I cried the other day because it was Teachers Appreciation. And I came into my office. I wasn't expecting it. And there was a bag and it just says, thank you. You are changing the lives of others. And it just made me cry because I am like, I'm living my wildest dreams. It's about helping people get to the next level and be on their way to making a 6-figure income is what I tell them. That's the goal. Don't stop until you get there. Get those 6 figures because it's out there. And it's not about just price gouging or being greedy. It's about providing service and getting education. Pay for your education. Pay for your education, move forward, and add to your body of knowledge. Build your briefcase, and you'll be able to name your price. And also, what I tell my students and what I tell my children, like, if you don't give your opinion out too freely, then somebody will pay you for your opinion. So just kind of get everything that you can get, because education takes place, but the last bit of learning leaves off. So you have to assess what it is that you already know. Then you can learn how to add on and build onto your body of knowledge.
You shared a lot with us. So first, I want to thank you for sharing with us. And even when I first talked to you, I knew you were very intelligent by your language, the words that you were using. And then you told me you had a doctorate. I'm thinking, wow. And you told me all about this natural hair. I mean, there's only 2 people that I know, you and Dr. Lake. Both of y'all got doctorates, and you all share a lot. I'm sure everybody has learned a lot tonight.
Thank you, Chen. Thank you. Those are such kind words, and I appreciate you. I thank God for you, and I thank God for me, because, I was a mess, and if God could straighten me out and put me, he has a plan for us, right? I didn't know what God was doing, but it's like he had people that were always around, and those people were always pointing, the right direction, pointing it out. And so that's kind of how it went for me.